Please welcome Tacoma Mayor and Chair of the Women's Mayors Leadership Alliance of the U.S. Conference of Mayors, Victoria Woodards.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. I can see there are a few gentlemen in our audience this afternoon, but let's hear for the women mayors. Woo! Well, as it's been said, I'm Victoria Woodards, Mayor of Tacoma, Washington, and I have the honor of serving as chair of the Women's Mayors Leadership Alliance. That is a mouthful to say, for the U.S. Conference of Mayors. I'm delighted to be here with all of you in Reno at the 90th annual meeting. And I would like to quickly start this off this afternoon by asking all the women mayors who are in the room to stand up and be recognized. Stand up, ladies. So two things really quickly. Number one is sometimes we slip out before the meeting is over, so I just want to ask as many of you to stay as possible to the very end, because we're going to start a tradition that we started in DC, but we're actually going to have a photographer take our pictures. So we want to get a picture of all the women mayors who are here today. And then I just also want to take this opportunity to say thank you to every single one of you. It's been a tough 2 years. But I know that you've worked incredibly hard in your communities. I want to thank you all for your leadership. You know, I'm really looking forward to working with you and with all of you as we continue to advance the mission of the Women's Mayors Leadership Alliance of the U.S. Conference of Mayors. That mission is to increase the number of women mayors in the conference leadership, and the active participation of all current female mayors is crucial to our success. I'd now like to take this opportunity to introduce the Vice Chair of the USCM Women's Mayor Alliance, Albany Mayor Kathy Sheehan, who will give a brief welcoming remarks and introduce our panel. Thank you all and enjoy our session today.
So it is so wonderful to see all of you here. It's great to be in Reno, and our plenary panel this afternoon is going to be focused on how local leaders can forge a path to equity. And while we have made tremendous progress as women in this country, we still face many challenges, and many of us feel as though we're moving in the wrong direction. You know, we continue to be underrepresented at all levels of political leadership. We continue to be underrepresented in boardrooms, and we have to recognize and acknowledge the fact that during the pandemic, much of the pain, many of the challenges that we face were borne unevenly and unfairly by women. So we have to come together and ensure that we are being a voice for women. It is important that we recognize that equity for women is equity for everyone. And as we have our rights assaulted, as we have rights taken away from us, as we anticipate we are going to by the Supreme Court, that is a call to all of us to action. Because we need to recognize that what is taken away from women can be taken away from any group. And so I think it's really important that we lead the charge in our communities to address barriers that keep women and girls from realizing their full potential, to ensure that we have equal opportunities, that we're not limited on the basis of gender, that we stop the bullying, that we stop what we see in our communities that are tearing down women, and that we recognize that we have to come together as women leaders and forge ahead, as challenging as it's been. And we know, we talked about it in our mayor's only session. The bullying and the vitriol that has been heaped on us as women mayors is something that is really a disincentive for others to come and join us. And so we are called upon to step up yet again, be strong, be that representative, bring more women in, because we have to stay on the path that we are on. The only way forward is through, and we are going to do that together as women leaders. So I'm really excited about our panel, and I'm going to start by introducing them. Our first panelist today is Baton Rouge Mayor Sharon Weston Broome. She was sworn in as mayor in January of 2017, the first woman to be elected as leader of the capital of Louisiana. Mayor Weston Broome has long focused on uniting her community around common goals of equality and in education, economic development, justice, housing, and other quality ways of life. Please welcome Mayor Weston Broome. Our next panelist is Rochester, Minnesota Mayor Kim Norton. Mayor Norton became the first woman mayor of Rochester, Minnesota in 2018 and took office in January of 2019. Prior to becoming mayor, she served in the Minnesota House of Representatives. Before serving on the state legislature, she served 8 years, including one as board chair of the Rochester Public School Board. God love her. Please welcome Mayor Norton. And we are honored to be joined today by U.S. Department of Labor Women's Bureau Director Wendy Chen-Hoon. She currently is serving as the 20th director of the Women's Bureau. She was appointed to the position by President Biden in February of 2021. Prior to joining the administration, she led the Family Values at Work national network of grassroots coalitions, winning laws that create paid family leave, earned sick time, child care. She has held senior positions in state government and private philanthropy, overseeing large-scale, results-driven initiatives for work and family economic justice. Please welcome Wendy to the stage. And finally, presiding over all, as well as participating in the panel this afternoon, is the U.S. Conference of Mayors Women's Leadership Alliance Chair, Tacoma Mayor Victoria Woodwards. She was first elected in 2017 and currently serves as the 39th mayor of Tacoma, Washington. Before being elected mayor, she served for 7 years as an at-large member of the city council, during which she launched the city's Equity and Empowerment Initiative, which led to the establishment of Tacoma's Office of Equity and Human Rights. Please welcome back Mayor Woodwards. Thank you, and I look forward to your discussion.
Thank you very much, Kathy. Can we give Kathy another round of applause? So awesome to be working with her this year as the vice chair of the Women's Mayors Leadership Alliance. You know, local governments impact almost every aspect of their constituents' daily lives. As city leaders, we as women have the extraordinary opportunity to not only advance the agenda for everyone, but to really advance gender equity issues, especially in this critical moment in time. We have the awesome responsibility to transform government services and systems to address gender disparities and empower all women in their diversity. We know that women are the backbone of our nation, right, ladies? We are the backbone. And not taking anything away from the men who are in this room supporting us today, but we are certainly breaking new barriers every single day, like all of you who were here today. Some of you first-time women mayors in your city. Some of you first-time leaders in your city. Some of you leading other opportunities, and you're the first woman. And we need to get to the day when we're not saying women are first, that it is just absolutely natural that a woman would be in a position of leadership. But like all of you, we are also disproportionately responsible for taking care of that second and third shift at home. We are the ones raising our children along with our husbands sometimes, and we are the ones holding down the hands of the elderly in our communities and in our lives. Now, we know that all of that existed before COVID, but we also know that it has been worsened by COVID. And we also know that, unfortunately, that it will continue after COVID without a significant amount of effort by every single one of us. But as mayors, We are used to being problem solvers. As women, we are used to being problem solvers, whether that is the fight between the kids before we put them on the bus or the argument between the people we are working with at the end of the day. This is not new to us, and that's why I know and am positively certain that we can, we are, and we will lead this nation. As we work to achieve gender equality in our communities, mayors must look to comprehensive and holistic approaches to address issues on several levels. Now, I'm going to turn this conversation over to the Women's Bureau Director, Wendy Chun-Hoon, who will set the stage for us regarding the current environment and engage us in a question and answer portion of this panel. Director Chun-Hoon, thank you so much for joining us today. We are honored to have you, and we look forward to this very crucial conversation today on gender equity.
Thank you so much, Mayor Woodards, to everyone here today. Good afternoon. I am thrilled to join you to get into this discussion about the great work that many of you are leading to close gender gaps and to create opportunities for women. For those of you who aren't familiar with the Women's Bureau, we are the only federal agency, if you can believe it, that is authorized by Congress to represent the needs of working women in the workplace. We actually turn 102 years old today.
Oh,
right?
Happy birthday.
Thank you. So for the last century, we have been laser focused on creating greater rights for women in the workplace. We know that in order to reach gender equity, we're going to need to tackle discrimination in all its forms. We need to raise wages in women-dominated sectors. We need to create pathways for women to enter higher-paying jobs in the fields that are still overtly male-dominated. And we've got to keep fighting for the care infrastructure that we need to thrive. You know firsthand, all of you, what is happening in your communities. You hear from constituents every day, as Mayor Woodards was saying, about how hard the pandemic has been for them. Some families are recovering for sure, but others are still very much feeling the ripple effects of jobs lost, of child care that's disrupted, and of losing loved ones. So I want to bring one piece of good news. If those of you track Department of Labor, every first Friday of the month is Jobs Day, as we like to say. So one good piece of news from Friday's Jobs Day data is that, over the past 2 years, after the worst employment losses of the pandemic, when women lost nearly 12 million jobs, there has been significant economic recovery. Overall, labor force participation rates continue to trend up. Women-dominated industries continue to add jobs. The number of women working full-time has now exceeded pre-pandemic levels. That's good news. However, this recovery has been far from even, and I think we all know that. While full-time work has recovered, employment for women, part-time employment for women, is still down by 11%. Just think about that. And I'm sure you are feeling it in your communities. And while Black women's unemployment has fallen over the past year, it remains the highest among women by race and ethnicity and continues to be twice that of white women. The lack of care infrastructure cost women and our families dearly during the pandemic. In April 2020, moms with kids under 13 years of age had nearly a 16% drop in their employment. That's enormous. Black and Hispanic moms were more likely to live in areas that had disrupted childcare services, that had schools that weren't able to return back to in-person. And while mothers' employment rates are coming back up, our most recent data show that we're still a full 2% lower than pre-COVID. As of just last month, so I, mom of 2 kids, have really experienced this, as I'm sure many of you have. Just last month, still 5.6 million households with a child under the age of 5 reported at least one type of work disruption due to lack of childcare. So that is, showing up as having to work less hours, needing to take leave that is probably unpaid, or just plain losing your job. Long-standing discriminatory labor market practices are reflecting which women have access to which jobs, persistent unequal pay, lower access to employment benefits and protections, and also lower access to remote work. These are some of the key factors that have really hindered Black and Hispanic women's employment recovery. As a nation, we have also historically devalued women's work. The jobs that women hold, especially those involving care, as you were saying, Mayor Woodards, for our loved ones, these are the lowest paying jobs in our economy. They're the lowest quality jobs in our economy, and yet these are the jobs that are the backbone of our country. Women and women of color hold the vast majority of these jobs in our care infrastructure, childcare, nursing, residential care facilities. We are still missing 11% of that workforce. So the resulting economic impact to not just these women's own families' economic security, but to every single one of us who count on a care worker so that we can leave our homes to enter into paid employment, right? And also for the employers who desperately need their workers back. The economic impact has been devastating. Closing the wage and wealth gaps for women and women of color is going to require improving the quality of jobs that have historically been held by women. And we also need to really encourage more women to enter into those higher paying jobs that are still very traditionally and still today held by men. This is a pattern that's called occupational segregation. This is the very highly gendered division of men and women into different types of jobs. And this costs women of color and our families billions of dollars each year. Billions, not millions, billions. The Women's Bureau back in March released a foundational report documenting the significant cost of occupational segregation. So here's the bottom line. In a single year, and this was the year right before COVID hit, so this is 1 year, Black women lost an estimated $39 billion. Hispanic women, $47 billion in lower wages compared to white men because of the jobs that we're in, because of what happened to those jobs in COVID. So we are clearly needing to chart a different path forward. At the Women's Bureau, through our own grant programs, we are investing in getting more women into these historically male-dominated sectors. We are also ensuring that women know about and can access their employment rights and benefits. Federal investments, as you were saying, through the American Rescue Plan and the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, are creating opportunities for all of us to find new ways to tackle these really long-standing problems. Across the Department of Labor, so all of our colleagues, we're working to help our partner agencies across the federal government to make sure that every job that is created through these historic federal investments become good jobs, right? They are good quality jobs, and that we're collectively building an inclusive and diverse and skilled workforce for the future. We are in a moment of time where working together, we can change the trajectory for women in our country. And while the Women's Bureau is working to address these at a national level, we know that all of you as mayors can and are doing this in your local communities. So without further ado, let's jump right into the exciting conversation with these three incredible mayors so that we can learn what you all have been doing to create a more equitable economy. So I'd like to start with you, Mayor Weston Broome, talking about pay equity. We were talking a little bit behind stage about the work that you've been leading in this. So I know that you recently established an Equal Pay Commission and promoting equity among Baton Rouge employers. And one of the pillars of that commission is going to be to make the city of Baton Rouge really the model employer that you can be for closing the wage gap. So I would love to hear a little bit about what your vision has been for the commission and what you see Baton Rouge as a model employer, and how are you going to define success for this work?
Yes, well, first of all, thank you for the opportunity. And this commission is really part of my overall vision, and one of my pillars as mayor is to develop a community of equity and inclusion. And of course, when we talk about pay equity, that falls under that umbrella. This commission, which is led by a female, will bring back information that will help us, as you said, lead as government And we will also have these commission members serve as ambassadors to our community, because many of them serve in a variety of roles. And it's just not women on the commission, but male counterparts in various roles and businesses as well. We will measure the success like I always like to measure success, and that's by data. And so we will see how we have moved the needle from where we are right now in Baton Rouge in 2022 until after this commission has concluded their recommendations. Let me also add to that, when I came in office, and I think this is certainly part of this conversation, there had not been a disparity study done for our community. My council members had requested one for over 10 years. And when we talk about data, when we talk about success and where we are, certainly looking at disparities in your community is one of the first places to start. And so I commissioned a disparity study, and the results of that disparity study certainly showed some of the information that you just shared with us, reflecting where women are at the bottom of the totem pole, if you will. And so as a result of that, we have implemented initiatives in addition to our commission that focus on closing the disparity gaps that exist among women in our community. We started with government first by establishing a diversity supplier division and helping women who want to go down a pathway of entrepreneurship, who want to get contracts with city parish government, by helping open the door for them, acknowledging that we need to do a better job.
That's great. That's fantastic work. We were in a conversation with Mayor Romero today, who was saying, I also love data, and I use it to drive my decision making, so that's really encouraging to hear. Mayor Norton, I'd like to pose the next question to you. Earlier this year, the city of Rochester had the honor of being named Bloomberg Philanthropies Global Mayors Challenge winner for the work that you're leading to create job opportunities for women, and specifically women of color in your community, in the construction industry. And so when we heard the news at the Women's Bureau, you can ask my colleague Richard, I couldn't wait to get on the phone with you and just hear about your vision for this work, and really thinking about how are you systemically increasing those pathways for women into apprenticeships and non-traditional occupations. So if you could just share with us a little more detail on how you created the initiative and some of your aims for these hiring practices and the experience along the way, that would be great.
Sure. The Global Mayors Challenge gave us an opportunity to be really creative, and it allowed us to pair two things together. One was our desire to have upward mobility, better paying jobs for the people that were hurt the worst during the pandemic. And as we know, even before the pandemic, our BIPOC community, women of color, were struggling the most, and that was exacerbated by the pandemic. And they were hit first. We have a heavily, a lot of visitors to our community, so a lot of hospitality and retail, and that was affected quickly, and it affected a lot of our Black and Indigenous people of color community. So we were trying to find a way to say, what could we do to help those people impacted the worst, that were having the hardest time coming out of the pandemic, with an opportunity. So we paired that with the second issue we have in our community, it's called Destination Medical Center. It's a $585 million investment in economic development in our community from the legislature that we had just passed. And so we know it's a 20-year funding program that we are going to be growing. We're replacing infrastructure, we're having buildings developed. Mayo Clinic has guaranteed an investment of many millions of dollars. And so we know over the 20 years, it'll be about a $6 billion investment in our community. And we need a workforce to do the jobs. And we know that our construction industries, as most of us know, all industries are struggling finding employers right now. So we paired those two thoughts together. And we decided that if we were going to do this, we weren't going to decide the solution for people. We wanted to invest in our people in our community to help us develop a plan. And so we did something called co-design, which is a kind of a flip on community engagement. There's a whole pamphlet that we've created explaining how we've done it. But it was basically utilizing members in the community, training them to go back into their community and bring back information to help us. It's very cyclical. We paid people for their involvement. And it's very in-depth information, because the message we heard was people ask us all the time what we want and then nothing happens. We're tired of being asked. So we're not asking them what the problem is, we're asking them what the solution is. And that's a very different thing. And so we brought people in, we did a co-design process, we put a group of BIPOC women in a room with construction owners, union workers, architects, anything that affects the built environment, and we had them work together over a matter of months, many months. We also did a lot of research in the community as well. And so they have created the solution that we won the grant for. So not only did we get the $1 million from the Bloomberg Philanthropies, I know the mayor of Phoenix is one of the other recipients of that. There were 3 in the United States. But we also got an earmark from the federal government, so an additional $750,000 to help us over the next 3 years implement the plan, which includes changing the workforce inclusivity. The businesses said, we don't even know what to do. Somebody needs to come in and tell us what we're doing right and what we're doing wrong. We're providing navigators for the businesses, but we're also going to take cohorts of women who are paying for training, helping provide daycare, addressing all the barriers, and we're going to provide them a navigator on the site that they're going to be placed at. And those 2 navigators are going to troubleshoot every day, every week, and talk to each other, the industry navigator and the workers navigator, and they're going to talk, and they're going to continue to work over the time. And as I shared the other day when I talked about this, one of the most exciting things for me has been seeing some of our co-designers are now employees of our city and of our Destination Medical Center initiative, because what we've learned from our women, this particular cohort is women, has been invaluable to how we work as a city, and so we are committed to using it moving ahead too.
Yeah. That's such an incredible muscle that you're building for the city, and in lockstep with the community, and even projecting ahead to what we often see. You can invite women in, create greater access, but it really is about that mentoring and that high-touch relationship so that they stay in what are still, again, very male-dominated
And hopefully someone from that first cohort will say, I'll be a mentor or navigator for the next group. And so this will continue, and we're hoping, I didn't mention this at the beginning, but less than 1% of our industry, our built environment industry, were women of color, less than 1%, but they make up 13% of our community. 40% of our Black population lives in poverty, and we're a community of haves and have-nots, and we're going to fix this. And we're starting one industry at a time, and we're starting with a tough one, but we're starting with construction and the built environment.
That's very exciting. I can't wait to keep in touch as this goes forward. Okay, Mayor Woodard, coming to you. You have put gender equity and equality on the top of your list during your term as mayor, and including establishing this really, I think, novel in many ways program, guaranteed income program. So, and really to see that program as a tool for gender and racial equity specifically. And one of the ways that I know that you have talked about it is having that income to really help offset the cost of childcare, which clearly, as we've all discussed, has been a barrier. So just would love to hear you share a little bit about what you hope to see the positive impacts of this intervention, and how you think it's going to improve gender and racial equity in Tacoma.
Great, thank you for the question, Wendy. And it's just so exciting to hear from each of these women about what they're doing. But we had an opportunity back in June of 2020, just shortly after the pandemic happened, and had an opportunity to work with Michael Tubbs, who started the Mayors for Guaranteed Income program across all of the United States. And I think we started with 10 mayors. We're almost at 100 mayors. So quick plug, if you're interested in joining Mayors for a Guaranteed Income, please see me afterwards.
Right.
But we joined and decided to go down this path because we've been doing a lot of work in our community on what we call ALICE, in partnership with United Way. So for those of you who work with United Ways in your community, you may be familiar with the term, but ALICE stands for Asset Limited, Income Constraint, and Employed. So these are the people who get up every single day, already working, already motivated, already trying to make a better life for themselves and their families, but still are living in poverty. And for Tacoma, a city of 220,000, that's 40% of the people who live in my community are ALICE.
Wow.
And so when this opportunity came, what came to me first of all is let's focus on ALICE because one, they're already motivated and they want better lives for their families. And they're already working 2 or 3 jobs, so how can we help give them just enough so that they might be able to continue to work to lift themselves out of poverty, get a better job, get better training. And so that's why we focused on this particular group. We focused on 4 zip codes in our community that are really low opportunity areas. And right now we are funding $500 a month for 12 months to 110 families in Tacoma.
Wow.
Now, we know as local government, we've used some ARPA funding and we've gotten some grants and some other local partners, but we know that the long-term success and viability of a program like this is not here on the local level. It is at the federal level. But what we're trying to do is make sure that we're able to tell the stories and actually get data and show that this does make a difference. We focused on those 4 zip codes. We focused on head of households with children. And what we have out of those 110 participants right now, 83% of the people participating in this program are women with children, single women with children. It wasn't designed, but that's what shook out, and that's because we know that out of the 40% of the people who are ALICE, we know that the majority of those people are women. And what we're hearing is that this is allowing them to get tutors for their children. It's allowing them to just do simple, basic things with their children and with their families. And what was so interesting out of the findings that came out of the Stockton model was that they saw great increases in mental health. And we've had a lot of conversations during this conference about mental health. And so the desire to be able to get up every day just to keep pushing can be very difficult when you're continuously struggling. But can you imagine just the hope that you give someone knowing that they can pay all of their bills? That just that little help means that they don't have to figure out how they're gonna pay their utility bill this month. And then they can focus on those other things. But it's hard to focus on your future when you don't even have security in your presence. And so I think it's just really important that this little leg up is allowing them to really look at their family holistically and find out where they can continue to thrive and make better strides. We're also surrounding them, they don't have to take advantage of them, but we're also surrounding with lots of other supports like job search, like job training. But the goal of this program is not to put a lot of prescriptives around the $500, but to say, we know that you've been taking care of your family already. It's not for us to tell you what your family needs or how to spend your money, let's be clear. I've heard people say, well, they're gonna take that $500 and quit their job. $500 is not enough to make anybody quit their job and be able to live off of that. Women know how to do more with less. We do it every single day, but it's time that we continue to demand that women get their fair share so we don't have to continue to do more with less.
Thank you for that.
Amen.
It's really impressive how each of you are just leading on purpose, right? That bold leadership of being on purpose. So I'd like to pose another question to all of you, or any of you who feel like answering. But this question about, now is the moment. We are seeing this historic investment of federal dollars moving into states, into your communities through American Rescue Plan, obviously, and the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law. And at the Women's Bureau, we've been talking with leaders across the country about how to use these funds in this moment to really drive at gender and racial equity. to make sure that some of the lowest paying jobs are higher paying jobs? And how do we sustain that beyond even this funding? Gaining access for women to these apprenticeships in these non-traditional jobs, establishing paid sick days, paid leave programs. So how are each of you thinking about, how you might use these dollars with an eye towards gender equity?
Well, I'll jump in real quickly and answer. We've done a couple things. One, you just heard me talk about the fact that we put some of our ARPA money into our what we call GRIT, Growing Resilience, into that program. We also have set money aside and focused money on small businesses with an emphasis of funding over 50% of that funding going to BIPOC businesses, BIPOC and women-owned businesses. So we're being very deliberate. I was listening to Mayor Broome talk about the fact that they did a disparity study. In the state of Washington, that's what we have to do to be able to target money. And so we've done that disparity work around small businesses so then we can focus and target our money. We've also used some of that federal money, obviously, to provide things like rental assistance and utility assistance. Still, because we have that disparity study with the ability to focus that money on women and people of color. And so that's how we've used some of our ARPA funding to make sure that we are lifting up those families.
And I'll just add, I think what you said is so true. One of the things that happened at the beginning of the pandemic when some of the PPP funds and when the city put some of the ARPA funds, or the CARES Act at that time, money forward to help small businesses, before the application was even advertised, some of our standard businesses already had their applications done. It hadn't even been published yet. And we saw a problem right away and said, this is wrong. And so we have very purposefully, we delayed the application. It wasn't going to be first come, first serve. It was going to be notices out to our businesses of color, our women-owned businesses, so that they too, at the same time or even before, had an opportunity to apply. Because the network of well-established businesses already knew about it and had their applications in, and we said, enough of that, we're not going to let that happen. So that was really important. And I'll just say, I think that the child care piece is really vital, and I can't say that we can help a few women with our grant and our process, but that's a larger issue that we really need to deal with to be able to provide some equity for women. And our legislature just left without doing their work, and so we're worried about getting access to the infrastructure bill because they didn't pass the language that they needed for us to get it. So devastating for us because we have lots of plans with green jobs and all sorts of things to put people to work, but right now we're not able to access those funds.
Yeah, I want to start and go back a little bit to talk about the CARES Act dollars during that time, and you talked about the PPEs and the people who had their applications in. And so in addition to that, we established a fund that would make money easily accessible. We did it in partnership with the Urban League of Louisiana. And so we set up a fund of over $1 million where small businesses, including women-owned businesses who were having challenges during that time, could fill out a very simple application to receive funds. I will tell you that one of the businesses that I heard most from were the hair salons. Because as you recall, when we were in COVID, they all had to shut down. They could not open up. And so I heard, and we suffered too during that time.
Exactly. Massage parlors, that was another one.
So I had a lot of salon owners calling me saying, how can I fill out this application at the Urban League to help me with my business? So we were able to help them during times of crisis with a separate established fund that we used CARES Act dollars for. Now, as we talk about the infrastructure dollars going forward, I will tell you that looking just at the ARPA funds, most of our leadership in terms of our ARPA fund initiatives are being led by women. And so they are very front and center in the distribution of those dollars, in the innovation and creativity. And I will close by saying that before the federal government came to our assistance, I was able to pass a major initiative, a almost $1 billion infrastructure program. And out of that $1 billion, we have over 20% of women who are participating in that program. So I will say that as women leaders, as mayors, it is incumbent upon us to act with intentionality.
Yeah.
These transitions, the assistance for women, closing the disparity gaps is not just going to happen if we're just thinking about it. We have to be very intentional and think about all of those statistics that you shared with us that are happening to women across the country and specifically in our community, and be intentional about closing those gaps.
Yeah, I love that. That's such great advice. Maybe I'll ask if there's any other strong advice on this, because these are real core strategies. And Mayor Norton, you talked about how important it is to do this work with community at the center and to actually engage community in the solutions, as you said. Any other advice as your counterparts are implementing things across the country, or really thinking about that strong gender racial equity lens?
I'll just say one of the things that I hope happens as a result of the work that we're doing, that I think is, that I heard Mayor Broom talk about, which is we're providing access into a field. We want women, once they get into that field, to go to the next step and become entrepreneurs and own the businesses. And in talking with women who are in the business, one of them actually jumped over ever having worked in the industry and went to trying to run a business and said that was not smart. I needed to experience it first, and then I was ready, and I jumped over that step. And so we're hoping that we can build that into it, so we give women an opportunity to have the experience and then help them into that next step of entrepreneurship.
That's great. I also heard you, Mayor Woodard, say earlier, just studying, right? So yes, you can go in with intentionality, but then you actually have to track what is happening and course correct if it's not happening, right? So I appreciated what you said earlier about that.
Well, and I think sometimes in government, we believe that we've got to have it perfect, right?
Yes.
Before we can roll it out. And we're afraid to roll something out, especially as women, because, no offense, but we get criticized 10 times as much as anybody else. And but the ability to be okay with stepping out with what you've got and course correcting along the way. But you know what? I don't know if this is the perfect answer, but I've talked to enough women who are in this situation, and we're going to try this, and we'll keep women engaged along the way. But one of the recommendations I would give is I double down on what Mayor Broom said, and that is be intentional. The other thing I would add to is don't be afraid to try. Don't be afraid to try something you've never tried before, that's never been tried before. Don't be afraid if somebody told you, well, we already tried that, it didn't work. Maybe the problem wasn't what they were trying, but the person who was trying it. So that is my thing. Be intentional, and don't be afraid to try, because it is in the trying that we learn and we get better. And then other women who are watching us won't be afraid to do the same.
Yeah, so true. All right, I may just ask one last question here, and that really is, these are tough times, and you all have been leading in really tough times. So as you are heading back home to your communities, your cities, and all of us here, what either is weighing heavy on your heart, or what is giving you the most hope in this moment?
And you want us to limit it to
how many
you can talk about anything you want to as a woman.
Well, I will tell you, and thank you for this conversation. I hope it's been valuable to our colleagues. What is heavy on my heart are the families who are suffering in my community right now, whether they're suffering from mental health challenges, whether they've lost a child to gun violence, whether there's domestic abuse taking place. These are things that are weighing heavy on my heart. But what gives me hope is that I am finding through collaborations and conversations that there are solutions. And I believe that if you do not grow weary in well-doing, you will reap if you don't faint. And so I adhere to that belief, and that gives me hope as I do the work.
Yeah, thank you, thank you.
Yeah, I will absolutely, and thank you for saying all that. I do think the concerns, the worries, the struggles of the people in my community are, you watch them, you hurt for them, and for a myriad of reasons, and frankly, all the things we've talked about at this conference, which is, you know, economic issues and climate change and violence and mental health. This conference was right on. It hit on all the things that weigh heavy on the people in our communities. I think for me, I got tired of hand-wringing. And so it feels, I'm hopeful because we have something in the works. We're taking action. You know, all these communities, and I know many of you out there, we're doing something. And when we do something and we can share those successes with our colleagues and with each other, when people in our community have the upward mobility that we want, that will carry on into the future.
Yeah, thank you. Mayor Woodard, how about you?
Gosh, so much is heavy. There's so much going on in our communities, and I think it is the people in our communities, but I'll get a little bit more specific today, because one of the things that's weighing heavy on my heart is the fact that once again, people are coming after women's rights.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whether, I mean, we're sitting up here after decades and decades and decades still talking about equal pay.
Yeah.
And a couple of weeks ago, or maybe even a month ago, now we're talking about women's rights to choose.
Yeah.
And it's not about whether you believe in it or not, it's just about your individual right to make a decision, whether that is about your body, or about your insurance, or about your job, or about your health care. It is about women's choice to be in charge of their lives and not to have any of those decisions made by anyone else, even our right to vote.
Yeah.
We've had to fight for everything we've gotten in this country. And if you're a woman of color, you're fighting 2 times. But we've fought for all of the things that we enjoy today, and we're having to continue to fight, even though we've proven time after time after time after time again, we know what we're doing. We know how to lead, we know how to take care of ourselves and our families. But what gives me hope, even in that situation, but what gives me hope is as I look out into this room and I see all of these women leaders here. As I looked out the day after that information leaked out into the press, and you saw all of, not just women, and so let me be clear, we're talking about women, but men who were in the room, we appreciate your allyship. We appreciate your support, because sometimes it takes a man to talk to a man. But what is so important, what gives me hope is looking out at these women, looking at the TV and seeing marches across our community and watching these young women step forward to demand that we have the rights that we deserve. And so what gives me hope is that things still aren't perfect. This perfect union that we talk about that we want one day still doesn't exist. But what gives me hope is the fact that I know that if all of us keep doing our job, and those young women that I watched on TV from across the country and across the world, if they keep doing their job, that there is hope that one day we'll be sitting on this panel. We may not even need a Women's Leadership Alliance, because we won't have anything to fight for, because we'll have everything we need, and everything we deserve. But what gives me hope is that we do have those women out there fighting, who are still concerned, who will continue to go to the mat for other women and to be other women's voices. And I know that with that we will see parity one day.
Yeah. I just want to thank each of you for your bold leadership in the face of adversity, in this moment of challenge. So it has been my real honor to be in conversation with you all. The path that we have to chart forward is to build a more modern and inclusive workforce with equal access to good jobs. It's one where everyone can have a seat at the table, specifically women. We want to all live in a world where we have time to care for our families, where we have a home where we feel safe, a community in which we thrive,
Yes.
and a career in which we're valued,
Yes.
right? And so I think we know to get to that world, we're going to have to pay women equally.
Absolutely.
We are going to have career options that are based on our interests and not our gender.
Yes.
We have to have equitable access to health care and child care and elder care and disability care, and make sure that jobs in our care sector are the best jobs in the economy. We have to have paid leave, sick time, time to take care of our families. So the opportunity to organize unions where we need them, right? And collectively bargain, and workplaces free of harassment and discrimination. So thank you so much for having me here with you all today. I'm eager to really continue this conversation about our partnership, keep elevating the work, the great work that you all are doing to really address these historic racial and gender gaps, and to build a more equitable path forward. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to quickly just take this opportunity to thank Wendy for joining us today and for leading this panel. Wendy, we look forward to this ongoing partnership with the Department of Labor and working with you. This has been absolutely wonderful. And can we please give all three of our panelists a round of applause again? And then I just want to remind all of the women who are in the room, we're going to meet right over here, stage right, to take a picture together, right over here, to take a picture. And then women, just look in the coming months to hear more from the Women's Mayors Leadership Alliance. We want to do more than just have a session here at both this conference and the conference in January. We want to be able to get together even in between that to talk about the issues that are important to you. So please make sure that you're paying attention to your email. You're going to be hearing from us soon. Appreciate all of you for being here today. Even gentlemen, if you're interested in supporting the Women's Mayors Leadership Alliance, you can sign up and make sure that you get invited as well. Ladies, thank you so much for being here. Thanks to all our panels. Thanks to staff who supports us so great, and thank you for joining us. Now we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
That was